When you think of an NFL player who has received the most money disproportionate to their level of production, who is the first name that comes to mind, and why did you say Kirk Cousins? In his 12-year career, he has made a staggering amount of money, more than Tom Brady, and he has one career playoff win.
You like that? You like that?
Though I will never blame a player for getting paid, he has generational levels of bag securing, easily the GOAT of rearing back, cocking his arm, and depositing checks right into his bank account. Who else in the league knew or knows how to stack that paper without having to work too hard for it? Some players on this list might surprise you. No, they probably won't. Before we get into this, let's define what I mean by bag securer, because it isn't just about teams signing a player to bad contracts. It's about a player receiving a disproportionate amount of money for their production, or were given huge deals based on little merit or success. Kenny Golladay. Just like his career as a New York Giant, I already forgot about Kenny Golladay. When the Giants signed KG to a 4-year, $72 million deal in 2021, it seemed to make sense. Well, sort of. After 2 solid years with Matthew Stafford throwing him the ball, he put up back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. The Giants needed weapons for Daniel Jones, and so they handed Kenny Golladay the bag. To say he didn't produce is an understatement. Though mostly healthy, he got about as open as Chick-fil-A on Sunday, only catching 1 TD in 2 years. His 2022 season was incredibly bad, playing in 12 games and only making 6 catches for 81 total yards. He was mercifully cut, but for his 6-year NFL career, he earned $45 million. 35 of that coming from his 2 worst seasons as a Giant. Hey, get that bag, Kenny. Brock Osweiler. Not sure if anyone has gotten by in life as much as Brock Osweiler has on both looking the part and being in the right place at the right time, except for somebody later on this list. After being a backup for 3 years for the Broncos, Osweiler finally got his chance in 2015 when Peyton Manning looked older than Leonardo DiCaprio standing next to one of his girlfriends. Brock did have a 5-2 record that season, and the Broncos won the Super Bowl, so the Texans decided to give him a 4-year, $72 million bag with 37 of that guaranteed. He was as mid could get. In 15 starts, he threw 15 TDs and 16 picks, somehow won a playoff game, and then was traded to the Browns in a cap-saving move. He never played for the Browns and somehow ended up back in Denver. He was cut, and then he played 5 games for the Dolphins in 2018. Osweiler had a career record of 15-15, a 1-1 playoff record, and made $41 million in his career. Legendary bag securing. Now, before we get to our next one, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. Thanks, Bear Mattress, for sponsoring. Head to bearmattress.com/5 points and use code 5 points to get 40% off your mattress plus 2 free pillows. You clicked on this video because you wanted to know which NFL players got their bag. The daily grind of chasing that paper is exhausting, but that's why you need not just a comfortable mattress to sleep on, but the right one as well. Bear is a premium mattress designed to upgrade your sleep, improve your lifestyle and overall quality of life, and it's conveniently shipped right to your door for free. What you do first is take the Bear sleep quiz. Everyone is different and has different sleep styles and positions. My results, I'm a side sleeper, so they put me in the Bear Original King Size Foam Mattress. The best part with Bear's sleep recovery technology, Celliant powered fabric helps me stay cool throughout the night and save on my electric bill. It was so easy to set up. I've had it for over a year now, and I love sleeping on it. As a single guy, you'd think a king size is overkill, but trust me, you and I deserve it. All of Bear mattresses are also Green Guard Gold certified and CertaPure US certified, so you can sleep safely and soundly knowing there will be no harmful off-gassing and no fiberglass. Hey, they let you try it for 120 nights, so you can make sure you love it. I love my Bear mattress, and I think you would too. If you're looking to upgrade your sleep, head to bearmattress.com/5 points and use code 5 points to get 40% off your Bear mattress plus 2 free pillows. This is higher than what's being offered on site, so check them out while you can. Jay Cutler, the master of don't care. Jay Cutler wasn't just the master of apathy, he was an expert at acquiring ducats. After being jettisoned in a trade by the Broncos, Cutler signed an initial deal with the Bears in 2009 and then promptly led the league in interceptions. Then Cutler had two 10-win seasons, but after 2013, in which he was not healthy and pretty mediocre, he was set to become a UFA. So the Bears did the most Bear thing ever, signing the then 31-year-old chinless QB to a 7-year, $126 million contract, $54 million of that guaranteed. Cutler promptly led the NFL in interceptions again in a 5-win campaign. He wasn't much better the next 2 years, battling injuries and only playing 20 games total. He was eventually cut and went to the Finns, where they paid another $10 million for him to not even pretend to care about football. The second Bears deal was particularly perplexing, since it was no secret he wasn't really liked around the building. All in all, Chicago paid Cutler over 103 of the 127 million he earned in his career, which featured a 1-1 playoff record. Hats off to you, Jay, for securing that bag. Matt Flynn. When you think of NFL one-hit wonders, Matt Flynn should be the first name that comes to mind. On the last day of the 2011 season, Matt Flynn was given a start so that the 15-1 playoff-bound Packers could rest Aaron Rodgers. Flynn went off, throwing 6 TDs and 480 yards against the Lions, who were also playoff bound and likely resting their defense. The Seahawks saw this and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him," and signed Flynn to a 3-year, $20 million contract, which isn't outrageous, but it seems the Hawks did very little to no research on Flynn and just forked over money based on one single, completely meaningless game. They would then draft Hines Wilson, and Flynn lost the job in camp and didn't start a single game in Seattle, then bounced around the league, ultimately being traded back to the Packers. His career ended in 2014. For his career, Flynn earned $17 million, with 90% of it coming from that one contract, which he wouldn't have gotten if the Packers weren't so freaking good. This man should open mouth kiss his agent and the Seahawks for that deal. Josh McDaniels. Yes, a coach made this list. Josh McDaniels objectively is a successful offensive coordinator. And before you say, well, he had Tom Brady, he did lead the Pats to a double-digit win season with both Matt Castle and Mac Jones as his QBs. But as a head coach, Josh McDaniels wasn't just a bag securer. He might as well have been Henry Hill, the way he robbed not one, but 2 teams of their cash. First, the Broncos hired McDaniels to a 4-year, $11.9 million deal in 2009, a substantial raise from his job as a coordinator. He made it less than 2 calendar years after going 11-17. It is likely he received a buyout from that first contract. Though he burned more bridges than the Germans fleeing the Allied offensive in World War II, that didn't stop the Raiders from signing McDaniels to coach their team in 2022 for a staggering 6 years, $60 million. Dude was literally making starting running back money to go 9-16 and get fired after 2 abysmal years. Let's assume the Raiders bought out the remaining 50% of the contract. He might have gotten an additional $20 million on top of the $20 million he earned while coaching. He immediately went back to the Pats, where he was hired as an OC, and by rule, he is supposed to be paid a salary commensurate with that position, meaning probably over an additional $1 million in salary along with his buyout. By my estimation, McDaniels has earned over $40 to $50 million to be a terrible, abrasive, and otherwise clueless head coach. But you have to admire his ability to secure that bag. You go, Josh. Now, before we get to our number 2, because nobody is better at bag securing than Kirk Cousins, here's some honorable mentions. Albert Haynesworth, who clocked $34 million from the Redacteds, representing 60% of his career earnings, in which he essentially quit on his team and playing football right after those big checks cleared. Desharvie Watstein signed the most laughable contract in history, the first and only fully guaranteed deal, which will pay him $250 million for him having played both like shit and sporadically over 3 seasons in Cleveland. Groper is currently trying to rehab from injury, something nobody wants him to do. And now we have Carson Wentz. If anyone has turned one season into a serious bag, that man was Carson Wentz. To his credit, he was having an MVP campaign in 2017, leading his team to an 11-2 record and playing lights out. Then he got injured. That opened the door for Big Dick Nick, who guided a very talented EAGELS team to a Super Bowl victory. Nick Foles himself eventually cashed in on that with a huge deal from the Jaguars, signing a 4-year, $88 million contract in 2019. But the Eagles thought it best to stick with Wentz, who in the same year signed a 4-year, $128 million contract with 107 of that guaranteed. After a 9-7 campaign, Wentz would be traded to the Colts, leaving the Eagles in never-ending cap hell. That should have punished them for decades and decades, right? No, they drafted Jalen Hurts and Howie Roseman, moved shit around, and now they just won their second Super Bowl. Fuck. Wentz, who is now 32, has bounced around 3 different teams in the last 3 years, having made $131 million in his career to date, having played in exactly 1 playoff game, which he lost in 2019. Not bad for a redheaded gym teacher. Now, before we go, let's give Kirk Cousins his flowers. Mans has earned $293 million in his 13-year career, has a 1-3 playoff record, including a loss to fellow bag chaser Daniel Jones and the Giants. To date, he has passed for over 42,000 yards, 288 TDs, and 126 INTs. Maybe not Hall of Fame, but in securing that bag, this man is first ballot, baby. You get that cheddar, Kirk. You deserve it, right? Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1 million subscribers. You know, I only have 390,000 at this point, so it'll probably take 10 years, but yeah.